On this episode of the Turnbuckle, we get an update on The Rock's status for WrestleMania 39. The Bloodline ceremony has been canceled and is now being referred to as the trial of Sami Zayn. And Nick Khan gives his thoughts on Tony Khan and his dad. Folks, rating your favorite wrestling moves and wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer provided an update on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's status for WrestleMania 39. Meltzer wrote that unless Johnson changes his mind in the next few days, Johnson has indicated that he won't have time to get into the kind of shape he feels he needs to be in for a main event match against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. Meltzer noted that Johnson has kept the door open for something in the future. Of course, it is a possibility that it's something being kept a secret from everyone, Meltzer added. The report also states that while Meltzer doesn't know that Johnson has officially turned down wrestling at WrestleMania 39, the indication is that it's considered less likely than a few months ago. The WrestleMania 39 card will begin to take shape as this year's Royal Rumble is held on Saturday, January 28th. WrestleMania 39 is taking place at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California on Saturday, April 1st and Sunday, April 2nd. So up until this point, okay, thinking about it now, was I always sure that was I always sure that The Rock was going to be at WrestleMania? Yeah, I just followed the reports. Sue me, okay? I just assumed that everybody was at that point kind of knew exactly what was going on, and now the reports are obviously changed. So, I don't really think that that's a huge big of a deal. It's kind of like Stone Cold and John Cena showing up there. Like, I highly doubt that their entire year-long storyline was set up specifically for them to show up. I'm sure they've got other things in the works, the Sami Zayn. So this is just me. I feel like they're probably going to do something with Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. I think they're planting the seeds for that. I feel like if you follow the story that's happening right now with Sami Zayn and Roman and stuff like that, I feel like there's this is just me. There's these little seeds being planted of Sami Zayn sort of realizing that he's being mistreated. Paul Heyman sort of planting seeds that Sami Zayn isn't necessarily, a priority on the team. Kevin Owens constantly passing by Sami Zayn, being the brother, using you, you're not realizing it and stuff like that. So this obviously is, again, bleeding more into the fact that it could potentially be Sami and Roman, or Cammy, there you go, Sami and Kevin against you, something like that in the near future. So look, only time will tell, and we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. Next, we're gonna talk about the Bloodline ceremony and how it got scrapped, and it is now being changed to the trial of Sami Zayn. Initially, Monday's Raw in Philadelphia was to feature a Bloodline acknowledgement ceremony that will include a number of members of that dynasty's past generations, including WWE Hall of Famers Alpha, Sika, and Rikishi, as well as former Samoan SWAT team and Head Shrinkers member Samu appearing. Friday SmackDown focused on the relationship between Zayn and Roman Reigns, with Reigns initially furious at Zayn for his reaction after the Usos interfered in his match against Kevin Owens without Zayn's knowledge on Raw. The two eventually made up prior to the contract signing between Reigns and Owens for the Royal Rumble later that night. So the reason why it's being changed is because Alpha and Sika can't make the trip, and then Rikishi got sick, so they were just all right, instead of just trying to make it work with what they have, I guess they were just gonna drop the whole thing entirely, which is why I was a little bit confused, because I was I don't remember hearing anything on SmackDown about the trial of Sami Zayn, but they just kind of announced it on Twitter, so that's happening tonight. But this is definitely going to be very interesting, considering the fact that this trial of Sami Zayn kind of came up out of nowhere. I don't really know exactly what Sami Zayn did to sort of bring this type of thing onto him. It's kind of weird. I guess you could get upset at him for coming out late to the contract signing and everything, but at the same time, in kayfabe, I don't understand why he would need to be out there, if Kevin Owens coming out was a massive surprise to everybody. I highly doubt Sami Zayn knew that was going to happen, unless he did. Okay, I guess we're really just gonna have to wait and see what Sami and Roman do. I don't really think anything's gonna happen because he didn't really do anything. Finally, we're gonna be talking about Nick Khan and how he gives his thoughts on Tony Khan and his dad. WWE CEO Nick Khan has discussed AEW President Tony Khan as well as his father Shahid Khan, praising the latter in a recent interview. Khan appeared on the Bill Simmons podcast, where Simmons brought up the rise of AEW under the leadership of Tony Khan, as well as asking him about Tony's father Shahid. As is being customary for WWE's Khan, he gave a very political answer. I think a couple of things, he said. I've never met the kid, Tony Khan. Seems like a nice kid to me, but I don't know him. I met his dad, who randomly I sat next to at some sports business luncheon that Stephanie and I went to a year and a half ago or so. I thought dad was as impressive impulsive as can be. I think there was a piece of him on the New York Times a year or so prior to that. Self-made billionaire, I believe Pakistani immigrant. Could not be more impressed with him. He added that he didn't think Shahidi was involved with AEW day-to-day before shifting gears slightly. He has the pockets, and that's awesome, and I'm sure his kid appreciates it, but I was never threatened by that. But I tend not to feel threatened by anyone or anything. It's not how I do business. I don't care what anyone else is doing, he continued. I care what we're doing, and as long as we can have the best product on with the best talent and the best writers, I think we're going to be in good shape. Now, obviously, right, he's in an interview, and he's not going to say anything incriminating, or, you know, he's not going to say anything, I guess, like damning, right? He's not going to, like, sling mud at anybody, but I could just be an absolute psychopath, but the way that he's like talking just makes me feel like he's just like not even remotely worried, right? And obviously you don't want to like give that type of idea away when you're talking to somebody, you know, because then you don't want people in the dirt. You just like take it and run with it. But like the way that he just keeps calling Tony Khan kid, like the way, now listen, I can understand that Nick Khan, obviously, I don't know how old he is. He's got to be at least like 40, 50, right? And Tony Khan, maybe like mid-30s, right? Maybe mid-30s, late 30s, like has to be. So obviously it makes sense that Nick Khan is going to go around and like call anybody who's like 10 or 15 years younger than him kid. It makes a lot of sense. But there's just something about it. There's something about the way Nick Khan talks to Tony Khan and how he calls him kid, where he's just like, yeah, you know, it's adorable. Him and his little YouTube channel, him and his little, you know, wrestling promotion and everything. That's adorable. Meanwhile, we've got the best writers and the best wrestlers over here, so we don't even have anything to worry about. I just wanted to talk about this just because I like the idea that Nick Khan is just like, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. We're the greatest wrestling promotion on this side of the Mississippi. Everybody else, okay, is drawing short sticks, okay, in comparison to us. And I like that, you know, you've got MLW with their new, you know, TV deal on Reels, MLW Underground, which apparently is what it's going to be called. And you've got Ring of Honor. Listen, okay, it doesn't, from the outside looking in, it doesn't sound like it's going to go well. It sounds like it's going to be on a bit of a rocky start. It's going to take a couple months for it to, you know, grow and turn into the company that I feel like everybody wants it to be, because I want it to be that way too. And what else? I mean, you've got Evolve, you've got Progress Wrestling, you know, two shows that just recently got out of the WWE deal, and obviously, you know, it can't possibly take that long for them. I'm not saying that like to rush them or anything. I'm just saying like they're a fantastic company, right? They definitely got like the biggest rub with WWE, so I highly doubt it's going to take that long for them to find any like new deals or anything like that. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of different wrestling companies sort of like making the rounds and like cropping up here and there, and Nick Khan is talking as though WWE is the be all and end all of you know, wanting to become a wrestler and stuff like that. And I just like the idea that if you just look closely and you listen out, you're gonna see that there's a lot of different wrestling companies slowly rising up through the ranks, you know what I mean? Like MLW and, you know, NJPW, Noah, isn't that in America if I remember correctly? I could be wrong, but I know NJPW is already a thing, so never mind, I can't really count that. It's like already a global phenomenon. But you know, like MLW and that sort of stuff, it's slowly making the rounds and everything. And I feel like Nick Khan is eventually going to start looking around, and he's going to start seeing a lot more different, you know, heads cropping up and everything, and he's going to have to take back that statement of like, yeah, WWE's fine, there's nothing to worry about. You know, at the end of the day, man, I don't really want to write anybody off. I don't want to rule anybody out. I just want to see good wrestling, and I feel like I'm not the only person who thinks like that. What did we talk about? So The Rock is more than likely not going to be at WrestleMania. It doesn't really sound like it. This obviously doesn't really change up a whole lot of things. I'm sure it changes up a couple things, but not a lot. Again, I feel like it's probably going to be Roman and Sami, or Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, some type of storyline regarding that, just because I feel like the seeds are still being planted, right? And then the Bloodline ceremony is being switched out for the Sami Zayn trial. Now, I read an article and it didn't say anything about Afa and oh my god, I forgot his name, but the two NOI members, Afa and Sika, right? If I'm saying that correctly, they were going to be there and then they couldn't make the trip. Now, they were like, all right, they could make the trip, but they were saying, oh, Rikishi specifically was sick. So that's kind of why they threw the entire thing away, man. I was like, okay, well, I guess A, that means no Rock, and B, that also means no Naomi. So there's a potential chance that we're going to see Naomi somewhere down in the Royal Rumble. So other than that, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see. Again, I don't know what's happening, but listen, all right, it's better something than nothing, all right? And then Nick Khan, man, the way that he just talked to him. Now, I could just be reading way too much into it, and if I am, that's perfectly fine. I have no issue with that. But it's just the fact that he's just like, yeah, whatever. It's him just being like, yeah, WWE is the greatest. And Nick Khan, oh, that kid, yeah, oh, he's adorable and it's all, you know, it's so cute. AEW, oh, it's so nice and tiny. Okay, WWE's awesome. All right, like Nick, relax. All right, let's bring it down a little bit here. Okay, Vince McMahon is back. Okay, I have a feeling that that's not really going to do a whole lot. In terms of, like, you know, building up the stocks for WWE. But I mean, look, man, I don't really know. Okay, I don't really know anything about that, and I don't really have any experience, and that's why I can't sit here and say one thing or the other. All I'm gonna say is that the way Nick Khan came off in this interview just came a little bit boastful, just a teeny bit arrogant. But again, that's just me, and I just could be reading too much into it, folks. That's gonna do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. As always, big hugs all around.